Much love to y'all. Stay safe, and I'll see you Friday, God willing. And
Good evening, Chris.
Oh, geez.
Hello.
Hi. Did you kidnap me and take me to space already? Sounds like we're floating around out there.
Oh, not yet. Not yet. No, we're getting ready to rope everybody up and get them on board. So
nice.
Gonna have a lot of fun tonight. We have fun every night. Every show is a new adventure, right?
Yeah, it is. I enjoy your show. I turn it on, I listen to it, lay there, and a lot of times I'm really tired. Like it's like, oh, I'm trying to keep my eyes open so I can listen. But yeah, I usually make it to the end of your show.
Well, the trick is to make it interesting enough that you don't fall asleep. So
yeah, and that's usually what happens. Sometimes I try to fall asleep, but I can't.
Well, then we've accomplished the mission. Then.
Yep.
We're fighting those late evening hours.
Yeah. So. Well, it's not that late here. It's 11 o'clock on the West Coast.
Yeah. And well, cool. Well, we've got an interesting lineup tonight. Going to do a little bit something just a little bit different tonight than we normally have, and I think everybody will find it fun and interesting. And in a way, it's going to be kind of a call out and a show of appreciation to all of the people out there who have offered articles and pictures and things to me and Indigo and that to hey, I just found this really cool article. You ought to use this on hyperdrive, And I want to say, thank you to all of those folks that do that, because I'll tell you, you guys come up with some really amazing stuff. And I usually not very good about saying, well, I got this from somebody, because by the time I get around to using it, I've got to go, let's see, who did that come from? And I'm sure you've never run into that issue.
Never.
But and it's just because there's so many people out there that do contribute. And I really want to say thank you to, if you have sent me anything over the past 3 years, I got to tell you, I try to look at as much of it as humanly possible, because there's always something in everything you guys send that means that could be that vital piece, that one little piece that adds that very key picture, a point in the picture, a TV set is made up of how many pixels, so, it takes all those pixels to put the picture together. So I just want to say thank you to all of the folks that have done that. So we're going to feature a few articles that have been sent by all the folks and try to tie it all together into an interesting show. And I think we got a cool way of doing it. So with that said, are y'all ready to get her rocking here? Because
yeah, I am.
I don't know about me, but or you guys, but I know I'm ready. So if everybody would, please, everyone, if you would file on board and find your seats, please. Store your gear in the overhead racks or in the seat space below you. And we will get things started here just momentarily. All right. So get your seats, and we'll have to do a little adjustment on the screen here at the beginning of the show. Bear with me just a moment, and we'll be ready to rock here. Come on. There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have been cleared for takeoff. So 3, 2, 1. right, ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived at our destination, 40,000 light years and counting. Thank you for joining us tonight. And you are free to unbuckle and move about the cabin. Please pay attention to the strategically placed monitors around the area to keep up with what we've got for you tonight. So here we go. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all you fellow hyperdrivers. Good to have you with us on this fine Wednesday hump day. And it's still hump day where I'm at. Indigo has moved over into tomorrow. So how's everything in Tomorrowland there, Indigo?
I'm looking behind me at that hump, so it's behind me now. Yep. There may be a hump coming ahead, though. Another one.
You think so?
I could be in the inter-hump zone. Yes.
The inter-hump zone. Yeah.
Let's not.
I don't know if we shouldn't go. Oops. There's a lot there that we might not want to explore just yet. Oh, I love it. Nothing better than live broadcasts, right? Oh man. Let's see here. He muted his microphone. I think he's trying to recover there.
Yep. All systems nominal.
It's okay to to get the giggles, man. It makes it even more fun. Oh, crying out loud. I love it. Okay. Well, like I said, welcome to the show. Mama Bear, okay. Light Switch, Awkward Mama, good evening. Child of the King, hey, good to see you. How are you doing tonight? I thought about you today. Almost gave you a call while we were on our dog walk today. Just didn't get her done. Kept running into people out there on the dog walking trail today. And let's see, we have Cowgirl in Lace. Good evening. How are you? And Chris is out there. And Wishful Thinking. Good evening. And Jill K. How you doing? Edge the Womp. Buster Keaton. So I have a new favorite video to play with, and that is that air show practice from the 28th of January from the Blue Angels. And I was telling Indigo on a phone call we had just before the show that to be able to be in a new aircraft as they are this year, the F-18 Super Hornet, and to be doing a full show practice on the 28th of January, they're doing really, really good. We weren't that close when we first transitioned to the 18s. The end of January, we were just starting to think about, doing a full show practice. They did 2 of them on that day, and they did a dang good job because I watched the full 40 some odd minute video, which is both the morning practice show and the afternoon practice show over the field. And so they're, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2021 Blue Angel team getting ready to bring it to you at all the air shows that they've got planned for this summer. So it should be an exciting season. And let's just pray that everything goes well. And we have a president who's not going to get in the way of, the Blue Angels getting out there and doing the air shows. So it was kind of fun to play with that video. So now to kind of give you guys an idea what we're looking at here tonight. I like I said, so many people offer amazing amounts of information to us, videos, articles, and what have you. And you know, I don't get the chance to really show my appreciation to you folks enough that you really do know that I do try very, very hard to look at as much of it as possible. And quite frankly, there's just not enough time in the day to do it all, but nobody could. Okay, so, but I do look at as much of it as I possibly can. And without you guys out there contributing, listening, supporting, we wouldn't be here. And it's very humbling, to say the least. So this show is kind of in honor of you guys, and a big thank you to all of you folks for all that you do for this show and the many other shows on Patriot Soapbox. Thank you so much. All right. So as the inspiration for some of the topics tonight, we've got this little document here. And I know you guys have seen these before, and I hope I've got this thing, you know, we'll get it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to see how it shows up on the D Live. I'm going to try to get this to be as clear as possible when it gets up there on the D Live. All right, I can make it bigger for you. Let's see here. And we can kind of zoom in on it. But you guys have seen these before. There's several different versions of these. I should have saved the search page that has all of these different diagrams on it. How many of you folks have seen one of these diagram
Mind
pages?
maps.
What'd you call it?
Sometimes they're referred to as mind maps.
Mind maps. Okay, that
Yep.
works. And yeah, you guys have seen these before, and they're really kind of amazing. There's the one that has the arrows that kind of go up and down, trying to follow the progression of the deep state and that. This one is kind of everything thrown into one page. And I'll tell you what, if there was ever an idea sheet for hyperdrive, this would be it. It's really amazing. What were some of the things that kind of caught your attention on this, Indigo?
Well, for first off, some undeniable fossil records that are they're found all over the planet, as well as some one-to-one correspondence between some of the geometry that we see in different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be the chances of those things all happening by accident would be extremely, so remotely slim. And when you tie that together with what we have in some of the ancient literature from some of the ancient cultures that seems to suggest that there was something else going on, or that there were other people here, and you look at that. So there's all of the ancient hidden history part of it. That's one thing. And then there's the cosmological side of the picture, which is it really doesn't happen very often that I think it's approximately every 26,000 years we cross the galactic plane of the Milky Way. And that's kind of a big deal. It doesn't happen very often. And the energy levels of what we're being, the Earth is being showered by all sorts of electromagnetic and other forms of radiation all the time. Not all of which are harmful either. It's just, various energy forms, and they change when you're at that point where you're crossing the galactic plane. And it could be associated with, I don't know, the development of new species, or greater mutation of existing ones, or heightened energy levels, changes in climate, possible other, and none of us were around 26,000 years ago, so we don't know what effects that had on life on Earth, but we happen to be living in that time now. So we're really fortunate enough to be seeing something that doesn't happen very often. And there will be effects on our local group, our solar system. And there's been evidence that there have been climate changes observed on other planets as well, elsewhere in the solar system. So something is going on, and it does happen every 25,900 years, I believe. And just, and that's just a tiny fraction of what's on this chart. So we have so much to uncover and so much to ask questions about. And honestly, there was a guy who discussed some of the ancient history. I think his name was Zechariah Sitchin, and he was very good at decoding some of the ancient scrolls. And he's since passed away, as far as I know, and I saved a few of his videos, and they're buried in my archives somewhere, but I don't think much of his stuff is up anymore. But he was a good, legitimate translator of some of that ancient history. And you know what? We're fortunate enough to have that, because I do have it saved, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. And given enough time to decode things and to figure them out and to piece it all together, I think that we're going to figure out a lot. And to that point, to some extent, even the powers that be today, they really do tell us kind of what they're doing, because it's almost as if they're compelled to somehow, but they make it all convoluted. They make it really difficult for us to see what they mean, but it's almost like they either have an ego about it or an obligation to do it. I'm not sure which, but you know what? The facts are out there. It's up to us to put the puzzle pieces together. And that's what this chart represents, is a whole lot of puzzle pieces. And it's our opportunity to put them together. Sumerian text. Yes. Edge Thwomp. Yep.
Yeah. When you look at these things and you kind of look at these charts, it's it's a combination of so many different things that we have heard about, seen. Some people would say, this is all been debunked. This is all distraction. But in a way, it is a part of what is rolling around in our consciousness right now. For some people, it's more important than other people. There's aspects of this that are important to some people, and aspects of this people could care less about. But when we're sitting here trying to figure out our world right now, and this is kind of, I call this the woo-woo chart. Okay. I don't see anything in here about voting machines, COVID-19, what's happening in Myanmar, aka Burma. It doesn't say anything unless it's talking about Red China and their
if I'm not mistaken, Thumper, if I'm not mistaken, I think I did see some reference to COVID-19 on here. Am I wrong?
There might have been just it might have been in here. There's so much on here.
Blow up my own version of it. Yeah, it's loaded with a ton of stuff.
Oh, there's just an incredible amount of stuff here.
If you want to talk more on the cosmological, astronomical, on all that side of things, there's just an area that we can go in that regard. But if we wanted to talk more geopolitical and power structure, on this planet as we see it today, we all know that there is some sort of an elite power structure running everything, and it's multinational. It's far beyond just the United States, although the US is one big prize, right? You know, very, very rich country. It's big. It's a big hunk. But there's no denying that there is an elite power structure that has got its plans and its methods and its tools, and it uses them. And a lot of the pieces of that can be pulled both from history to the present, right off of this chart, because they're there. Let me get mine back up here. So we could go in any direction that you want with this. It's huge.
Well, let's just kind of take a look at the top, because I think the top represents earlier times, and I'm a big proponent of the past. From the past, if we're not learning from the past, then we're doomed to repeat it. And and that's how we got here, where we're trying to dig ourselves out of this this godforsaken hole of a bunch of megalomaniacs, like as you were talking about earlier, the Bill Gates thing,
right?
And that guy's whacked out ideas. Oh, good Lord.
That is, I'm not trying to pick on him, and of course, maybe this discussion is for entertainment purposes only, but it does have a serious side. He seems to be devoid of a certain type of emotional sensitivity, and it's all about, well, what we can do. Well, we can make this, we can do that, and looking at. I don't think that he regards human beings as anything a whole lot more significant than a piece of computer equipment, to be honest with you. It's almost like inventory. And I mean, I don't want to go over the edge and speak too opinionated about Mr. Gates, but I don't think that he shows a whole lot of regard. And there's something a little bit more than just anecdotal evidence that some experimentation with some of the potential vaccines that were developed with a group that he was financing were used and deployed and had negative results on people in Africa, as far as I can see. And we know that this happened. And so, yeah, that's Mr. Gates.
Yeah.
But that's all negative stuff. I mean, we could look at the positive here. Yeah, I hear you, Deb.
A megalomaniac psychopath. Yeah, I think that's the term I used on our phone call earlier. Or a psychopathic megalomaniac. There, yeah, that kind of it wraps it up.
It seems, ego, exactly. It seems like when any given human becomes unhinged, it's when their ego, exactly as you guys are saying, departs from a connection to what is at the very top of that chart, which is somehow an identity with a creator or a creative force, by whatever religion whatever nomenclature that you want to use. I mean, everybody arrives at it themselves, but I can't deny in my own world and in making peace with my own outlook on reality that all this didn't happen by accident. Therefore, there was some sort of a creator. And if we came from that creative force, it might be likely that we might go back to it. Now, this getting back to Bill Gates and other people of a similar philosophy. They depart from a connection from a creator. It's like, hey, we can do whatever we want. We can build a new operating system. We can do, we can write viruses and then sell antivirus programs. Who knows what we can do? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And to him, playing around with vaccines and epidemics and everything else, that's just another thing to play with. And
that is a man bored with life, I think,
or he's missed he's missed some of the most beautiful, wonderful parts of life. I wouldn't want to be him.
No,
I don't know.
No,
I'm not picking on you, Mr. Gates, if you happen to tune into the show. I'm honestly not picking on you, but I really don't understand you, and I don't want you doing things to me.
Yeah. It's not your place. It's not his place to be making those decisions for anybody but himself.
Right.
All right. Or his pets, if that's the pets are property, but they're living beings, and when you don't respect a living being, one of God's creatures, then we have a problem. We all have a problem when people don't respect God's work. And well, if you look at this chart, just starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the chart, it starts out artificial intelligence signal, originally at 1 with the creator, and then it has an arrow to 1 infinite creator. Absolutely. There is only, God is the ultimate, he started it all, and it's his baby. He made up all the rules. And I'm not sure what samsara is. That one, I have not run across that one before as far as the name. So
I'm working on it right now.
Oh, okay, cool. And the mystery of universal creation. And below that, it has a note here. It says, it is said that the creation of the universe will always remain a secret. Well, if we could understand the creation of the universe, it kind of takes away the who God is, because it's his thing. He's the one that made it, and yeah.
So
he's got the patent, in other words. Okay.
So samsara is a Sanskrit word that means world. It is also the concept of rebirth and cyclicality of all life, matter, and existence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about life cycles, death, rebirth, and world.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's when you in the Bible, we are born, we die, and we are born again in Christ, with Christ, and so that the story from the Bible, you can fit it in there, and I prefer to kind of look at it in that but when we're reborn with Christ, and in God's house, we will be different from what we are. We'll be more perfected, in so many ways that we don't understand now, and that's an exciting proposition. And
I don't know if anybody can latch on to this idea with me, and I may be wrong, and you can blow me out of the water if you want, but I want to say that I think that things are simpler than we are led to believe that they are, that there are some really simple, basic truths and facts about our place, about what humanity is, what we should be when we're in our best nature as humans, and what our place in this universe is, and where our creator fits into that. I just think it's a whole lot simpler than science, technology, media, the information overload that we're up against. I think that it almost drowns some of that simplicity out. Am I wrong? I don't know.
No, I tend to agree with you. And I don't know whether it is rather simple. It's not nearly as complicated. I mean, have you ever been around a person that really doesn't want you to know what it is they're doing, so they make it look really complicated?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this
Yeah.
is way too complicated for you. It's you wouldn't
Mhm.
understand it. I've been around people like that, and you want to take them out and wring their neck.
Me too.
Is the first
And
reaction that
and
I have.
and sometimes they don't do it as bluntly as that. They just give you this long diatribe. You say, well, how does this work? You
Hmm.
push this button and the light turns on. And they say, well, no, there's a control circuit for this. And of course, you've got to have the power set right. And it can only be at this time of day. Yeah. I mean, I gave you a technological example.
Hmm.
Yes, I've experienced it.
Yeah. Well,
Short answer.
okay. Let's say if you have a vehicle that is at least a 2000-year model or newer, go open up the hood.
Hmm.
Okay. Look in the engine compartment, and what do you see? You see all these
Wires.
plastic covers and some
Oh,
wires and some tubes and everything else. And you're going, geez, just to
can
get to the valve covers, I have to remove 3 plastic covers.
exactly. Can we talk about cars for a minute? Because we're both older, and we remember cars when they were so simple.
Hmm.
You had a fuel pump that was mechanical, and it was probably bolted close to the front of the engine with a pipe coming from the gas tank and a pipe going to the carburetor. Simple.
Hmm.
Now you've got an electronic control circuit and you've got an electric fuel pump that is in the gas tank. You want to change that fuel pump, you got to drop the gas tank. Where are we going? It used to be so simple. And that's just the fuel system. I don't want to take us off on a long car discussion, but just one example. That's
Well, and then the whole technology of recapturing all the fumes so that we don't hurt the environment
right.
with
Right.
all those gas
All
fumes.
those hoses and things.
Yeah, so you've got recirculating tubes and things like that, to make sure none of that fuel evaporates into the air. And it's all much more technical than.
So
used
what
to
would be more perfect if someone wanted, and I'm not saying that this has been done, but if someone wanted to take away your ability to fix your own car, what would be more perfect than not only to tell you that it's really complicated, but to literally make it so complicated that you need a laptop, 25 different software programs, a data connector, and you need the specific programs for any particular model of car. And then you need specific tools to get certain assemblies apart just to get to the one that's broken. You know what I mean? Make it so darn complicated that nobody can fix anything on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You, it now take what we talked about with cars and apply it to other things.
Well, apply it to this diagram we have up here.
Yep.
All right. Now, a lot of this, it may be complete BS. Who knows? Or it may have been, this. Let's face it. Since if you're going to talk about this solar flash, it occurs every 25,900 years, right? There it is, right there.
Yep.
It's so much fun when you're
well,
let's see.
I maybe I can zoom out on mine and let's see here.
It's right here at the top, and
it is.
I thought I was. There it is.
Okay,
there it is.
Great solar flash. It's underneath Infinite Creator,
Yeah.
and it's straight underneath Consciousness Renaissance.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Occurs every 25,900 years.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say the last great, and excuse me for using the word reset, because that's kind of what this is, as it's been explained to me. Every 25,900 years, basically what it is, it's the rotation of the galaxy and the planet, and every 25,900 years, the planet goes through this this area of a different type of energy that is associated with our universe and with our galaxy, and this thing happens, and it happens because the sun, there's a lot of different things about the sun. Prepare for solar flashes. What is the sun? Well, a lot of new information about the sun. They talk about the electric sun, and its ties to the planet. We're just starting to understand a lot of this stuff that happens with the sun, and the fact that some people will actually tell you that when you're out in space, you can't actually see the sun. Have you heard that before there?
I have
Indigo?
never heard that.
Yeah, they
Tell me more.
You can't, it doesn't appear as this big burning ball unless you're inside the atmosphere.
Well, I would say this: if you're in the blackness of space and sunlight isn't shining on anything, then everywhere that you look other than the sun would appear completely black, except for what stars or planets might be in your view.
Well, consider this: the part of the moon that we see, is it really lit by the sun, or is it lit by the reflection off of planet Earth?
I can't know that. I don't know.
Kind of interesting. It goes into all, this is where, you start getting into, flat Earth and some of the theories that other people have about, flat Earth and,
wait a minute. If you can have an eclipse of the moon, then it kind of goes reddish, dark reddish brown. And that's because the Earth is occluding the light from the sun to get to the moon.
Right.
So wouldn't that show that it was being lit by the sun?
It would stand to reason, yes. And but the moon doesn't have an atmosphere.
Nope.
But then maybe
Also,
it just takes a surface.
The moon does not rotate either. That's another interesting peculiarity about the moon. And it would suggest that there is one part on the inner structure of the moon, whatever it is, that is heavier than the other part. And that's what keeps it in a kind of a pull. One side of the moon is always pulled toward the Earth more strongly than the other side. So that would suggest that there's low density or hollowness or dare I say anything like that, on the rear side of the moon, and that there's something really heavy on the side of the moon that's always pointing toward Earth.
Well,
and if we don't have an answer to that question.
Well, if we go to this document here, interestingly enough, let's see, where was it?
Using Newtonian physics, that would be an explanation. It's the moon's heavier on one side than on the other.
This document here, let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, it was okay. I just got to find it. Bear with me. I hope I'm not making anybody motion sickness here. I'm not trying to, believe me.
That's okay. And Arlene, yes, you're right. It is slowly retreating from the Earth. It's slowly spinning away. That is correct. Additionally to that, the Earth is slowly pulling away from the sun. It's also drawing outward, not inward.
Here we go. The moon. And this is what this document says: a synchronous orbit held by tractor beam, ancient builder race, and there's ruins and technology associated with the ancient builder race. And the ancient builder race, if you follow some of the stuff that is talked about the ancient builder race, they are the ones that are responsible for the rings around Saturn. And they're actually, people have said the rings around Saturn are actually made out of
Fractured moons.
well, that's one of the theories. The other one is it's transparent aluminum. Where was the first time you ever heard about transparent aluminum?
Transparent aluminum.
Yes.
Well, allegations of aluminum particles being used in aerosol spraying overhead, but that's not quite transparent. Transparent aluminum? I don't know.
Aren't you a Star Trek fan?
Yes. Did I miss that? Do I need
The
to watch
movie.
all the episodes again?
No, the movies.
Oh.
Remember when they came back and got the whales?
Yes.
And Scotty made the tank inside the ship out of transparent aluminum.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
Voyage home, yes. Yeah. So it's not the first time. I mean, the idea of transparent aluminum, before I ever heard about it in the woo-woo sphere, I saw it on a Star Trek movie. I heard about it and they talked about it on a Star Trek movie.
That was a good reminder.
Yes, Scotty sits down there at the computer. He sits. You remember, he sits down at the computer and he goes, computer, and then he realizes he's dealing with 1990s technology or whenever the movie was made. And he goes, oh yes, the keyboard, how quaint. Because he was, and then he went out to somebody and took them the formula for making transparent aluminum, and realizing that somebody was going to make $1 billion off of this advanced technology that they were dropping on him there. Yeah, it was funny. It was one of the more entertaining parts of the movie.
If you've ever played around in a chemistry lab, which I did quite a lot of, maybe about 4 decades ago, one might have experimented with a couple of chemicals mixed in a test tube, and when one combines those two chemicals, what is otherwise cloudy all of a sudden turns totally clear, crystal clear. So states of matter can influence whether they obstruct light or whether they become transparent. So there's probably some scientific basis for mixing aluminum with something else and making it transparent.
Or in the way you line up the molecules, and you get a, you get a. I mean, we make glass out of sand.
True, and we make it clear, don't we?
Yeah.
Process of removing impurities and the process of mixing aluminum with something that dissolves it in the other chemical or the other material, so that it is at an atomic level mixed with the other. Then I don't know what specifically you'd use, but it would seem like it would be within the realm of normal chemistry to be able to make it transparent.
So, looking at this diagram here, talking about the moon, LOCs, Lunar Operations Command, LOC-1, LOC-2, they've talked about, the bases on the backside of the moon, and actually some of our astronauts that went to the moon, they've talked about, some of them have come out and said, we saw some really weird things. And one of them was they were allowed to land on the moon in a particular area. They were only allowed to go certain places on the moon because most of the people in NASA had no idea that there was already, operations going on in the moon through the secret space program and some of these other things that, the dark fleet that's been referenced by Corey Good and David Wilcock and some of the other whistleblowers that have been out there. The Dark Fleet is working in conjunction with the Dracos and the Reptilians. They're kind of a breakaway. Not to mention, okay, the 22 ET genetic programs that are being run here on Earth. Still don't know what all that is. Maybe Bill Gates is part of that that group there. Who knows?
Well, think about this for a moment. With all that we surmise, and we surmise correctly, that people who are of an elite ruling class know a whole lot more than they ever tell us, then would it be much of a stretch that there would be there would be a secret space program, or there would be other races on other extraterrestrial bodies
Mhm.
that could have come here? That's not a stretch at all.
I don't disagree at all. I'm all we've got to go on really is a lot of pieces of a puzzle that we don't have enough to say, oh, absolutely, that's exactly what it is. We're still left kind of scratching our heads, but there's just I mean, if we waited all of our lives to know exactly what was going to happen the next minute, nobody would do anything. You've got to take that leap of faith at some point, right?
Yep.
Because there could be black ice around that next corner. You don't know, but you go around the corner anyway, and you might want to keep your feet on the brakes, or be ready for something to come around the corner. But you take a leap of faith to say that I'm going to get out there and I'm going to go through the day, and I'm going to come home tonight and everything's going to be fine. It'll be a successful day. We take that leap of faith every day, and because if we don't, we might as well just tack ourselves to a tree and become a piece of moss growing on the north side of a tree. And frankly, we weren't built that way. God didn't give us. He didn't say, he gave us a world. He gave us senses. He gave us free will in order to explore and learn.
So just take that one statement that you've got dead center in the screen there: artificially placed into Earth orbit 500,000 or so years ago. Okay.
Mhm.
What gives credence to that theory, or that assertion, is if we look at all of the moons orbiting all the other planets in this solar system, the proportion of the size of the moon versus the planet is the moons are all much, much smaller. Our moon is gigantic, and we're not even one of the biggest planets in the solar system.
Right.
We have a gigantic moon for the size of this Earth. I pause on that and I say, okay, I don't have any good explanations other than that it was put there, that it was jockeyed into that position or constructed and put there.
Well, and also consider this: its rotation is such that the same side of the moon always faces the planet.
Yep.
Okay.
And so add on to that. According to our understanding of, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No, go
according
ahead.
to our understanding of solar system physics, that I did try to turn my volume up, guys. I don't know if I'll try to boost it anyway. That the way that moons form is kind of like the way planets form. It's aggregations of dust that gravitationally pull together and they turn into a ball. And you don't wind up aggregating a bunch of material into essentially dust or cosmic dust and debris into a ball, and then have it so that one side of it winds up heavier than the other side. And in Newtonian physics, the only explanation for the moon to be geocentrically locked in orbit so that one side of it always points toward the Earth would be that one side of the moon has more density or more weight than the exterior side, the one that we don't see. Moons don't form that way. They don't naturally form that way. That's point number one. Point number two is the first one that we already said, which is that moon is huge in reference to the planet that it's orbiting.
Well, consider this too. When either the planet or the moon in an eclipse, and especially when the Earth or the moon crosses in front of the sun, and we get a lunar eclipse, that the moon is perfectly placed distance-wise.
Right, so that you get a perfect eclipse.
You get a perfect eclipse.
Yeah, that's a third thing. There's a third thing.
That there's no other moon in the that we know of, or that we've been told of, in this solar system that has those properties. Right. That is that just a coincidence, or
no, it's not. No, coinky dink. No, it's not. Now,
no,
there's three discrepancies there. Three of them. No, it was put there. And what Too True just said out there is there are ancient testimonies from ancient cultures that said there was a time before the moon was there. I didn't know that. I guess I'd like to read more about that. But
yeah, and so it's been postulated, and some people are saying that the moon was placed in orbit exactly where it needed to be.
To do what?
So that, well, for one, the side facing away from the planet is quite built out, from what people are saying. Heavily dark side of the moon down here. See, it says heavily populated with ET bases. And if there are bases on the front side of the moon, they're cloaked. They have cloaking technology. And it's kind of the outpost that's here to watch over whatever is going on here on planet Earth. And Banner River, you're going to bed already? Gee whiz.
I can't dismiss any of this stuff. I really can't.
It makes it hard because there's enough there that makes you go, I can consider that. It's at least on the scale of plausibility. I would like to get more information, because there really could be something there. It's an interesting enough factoid that if we could say, oh yeah, I can show you 50 moons in our universe that are the same way, then okay, I'll accept, but there aren't.
Nope.
No. And then, so why aren't there, would be the obvious question.
So what for the sake of
because our moon is so normal, right?
For the sake of intellectual integrity, just in general, not any particular one of us as thinkers, but just for the sake of intellectual integrity about the explanations or the accepted reality, we would stop right there and we'd say, we need these three questions answered. We don't even need to go further. And we say, okay, all right, it's geosynchronously locked. It creates perfect eclipses, the perfect size, and it's way too big. And then you add on top of that the anecdotal thoughts or information that we have from some people who have said that there's stuff on the other side. And right there, that's enough for us to say, okay, we want to know about the rest of our history, and we are going to find out what it is.
Mhm.
And somebody on this planet knows. Somebody knows.
I
There's a
think
group of people who know all
well, let me just share something with everyone. No, that's not where I'm going. Let's see here. Okay, we'll just put it over here. Okay, this is a screenshot of a part of an email that I got from a friend of mine when we were discussing some of the patents in regards to the fusion energy device we talked about on the other show.
Yep, propulsion systems.
Yeah, propulsion systems and directed energy systems, and could also. Yeah, and he says just partway. Okay, this is my friend. He sends me this. Just partway through the first article, a search of patents and patent applications on Salvatore Cesar Paes came up with nothing. Then he says, I sent my friend the articles and Lockheed Martin patent info. His reply was, in quote, "It would blow your mind if you knew what I know." All right. And he didn't, you know,
Wow.
This friend has friends who work in some very unique parts of our government dealing with all kinds of technologies and different things. And, they go back a very long way. And this isn't the only one that he got that indicated that there's people out there that are working in these fields that do know what's going on, and all of this is in response to let's see here. Close that article. This particular article that you saw us that we went through the other day. This isn't the exact same article, but it's dealing with the same thing. Documents show Navy got UFO patent granted by warning of similar Chinese tech advances. Patent documents indicate that the U.S. and China are actively developing radical new craft that seem eerily similar to UFOs reported by Navy pilots. And this was an article that actually came out June 28, 2019. Go ahead there.
That thing that you've the one picture in that's down at the lower right is correspondent to a patent regarding an anti-gravity device, and I've got that thing up here. It's
You're talking the one that's marked figure 1 down here?
Yeah, lower right. Yes, yeah, that one
right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is, I'm going to find out which one it's from. And it was interesting too.
Well, let me read this first paragraph here while you're looking that up there. Okay, the United States Secretary of the Navy is listed as the assignee on several radical aviation technologies patented by an aerospace engineer working at the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, headquarters in Pax River, Maryland. I know it says Patuxent, but if you're in the Navy, it's Pax River. Okay. One of these patents describes a hybrid aerospace underwater craft claimed to be capable of truly extraordinary feats of speed and maneuverability in air, water, and outer space alike, thanks to a revolutionary electromagnetic propulsion system. Far-fetched? You're not alone. And were you able to find what you're looking for there?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
do you want me to drop the share? You want to share it on screen?
It's patent 10. Wait a minute. Let me see if this other computer's in the, well, no, you grab it if you can. It's patent number 10322827. But I
Okay.
also need to get this other computer into the, and be able to display. So it'll just take me a second.
Okay. Let me.
And I'll have it up.
Okay. Which patent number was it? The one with 27 on the end?
Yep. And I'll have it. If you don't, I'll have it up in just a second.
Okay. Got that up.
Do you want me to put it up?
Well, if you've got it handy, that way I can keep where I'm at, and you can show what you got.
Exactly.
That works.
Okay.
That works.
Here we go. Okay.
Hey, while you're doing that, I'm going to go fill up my coffee cup. I'll be right back.
Yep. So what fascinates me about this one, and I'll have it looking better in a second here, is this. Right here we have, and this is the most recent date on this one is June 18th, 2019. It is entitled a high frequency gravitational wave generator. Now that would be huge because we've got all sorts of, well, we've been led to believe that there are all sorts of obstacles to our being able to travel at fast speeds in space. In other words, it kind of gets us into the mindset where we're kind of locked into being on Earth, and it's really, it's really very difficult. Even to get to Mars is a big project. But if we were to have control over being able to generate gravitational waves, which is exactly what this talks about, then we would be able to we'd be able to repel one heavenly body such as Earth and attract towards another one, and it would transform the idea of space travel for us. So I'll just read this. A high frequency gravitational wave generator, including a gas filled shell with an outer shell, microwave emitters, sound generators, and acoustic vibration resonant gas filled cavities. And they have a little diagram of this thing down here too. And it looks like this. And they've got little section numbers for each piece of it. And I'm rather curious about it. And I'd like to try to build something like this. Who's to say we couldn't unless we try? So continuing to read, the the acoustic vibration resonant gas filled cavities each have a surface that can be electrically charged and vibrated by acoustic energy from the sound generators, such that a second electromagnetic field is generated. Then the two acoustic vibration resonant gas filled cavities are able to counter spin relative to each other to provide stability, and propagating gravitational field fluctuations. And those gravitational field fluctuations are generated when the second electromagnetic field propagates through the first field. Fascinating. And this is the diagram. I'm going to want to read a little bit more of this. So I'm scanning down. This is a 9-pager. I want to see if they tell us what each of these pieces is in here. Okay, they're giving more of a detail. That's triangular shaped objects. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip right over to section 5 in a second, but I'll give you a little bit of a just the intro to it. Gravitational waves, and remember this is big because this has a whole lot to do with unlocking space travel by way of warping space and by way of perhaps being able to travel through the proposed wormholes that exist in space. So here we are. Gravitational waves can be seen as undulations in the structure of space-time, ripples in the curvature of the space-time fabric. These waves are propagating fluctuations in gravitational field which arise due to the dynamics of massive physical entities. Okay, now I'm going to skip ahead over to number 5 right here. This is this section. Local vacuum energy state can be seen as the collective energy state which contains the ground state of minimum energy that is the quantum vacuum. And the excited state generated by matter or any other source of energy in that space-time locality. According to quantum field theory, matter, energy, and space-time are emergent constructs which arise out of a more foundational structure, which is the vacuum energy state. So, considering that what they're playing with is generating gravitational waves, then that is going to affect or bend this the non-quantum or the more Einsteinian notion of space, and bend it in such a way that one could get to a far distant point, very much like the way if you visualized yourself on one side, one end of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you want to get to the other end of the piece of paper, well, you don't have to walk all the way across that 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You just fold the paper, and all of a sudden you're at the other point. You're at the other side. That's what you're talking about.
I like that sentence. It says, matter is confined energy bound within fields and may be thought of as a spectrum of different vibrational and possibly gravitational frequencies.
Right.
Vacuum energy state.
Right.
Okay. And if you go back to that diagram we've been staring at for the most of the show.
Yep, which I can get that thing up here. It's one of these tabs. A lot of tabs.
I know how you feel. I can relate.
Just give me a second. I'll find it.
Here it is. Because you get into let's see. Let me see, because they talk about that in it's referenced in this chart here.
My gosh, where is it on the chart?
Yeah, that's the tricky part. It talks about it under Tesla, because
that's down lower, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Holistic healing, go all the way to the left side of the chart.
Okay.
And right underneath secret space program researchers, you have holistic healing, Rife machine, and then it says 369.
Ah, those are Tesla numbers.
Yes. Yeah. Go all the way. Okay.
Lower?
Go left.
Go left.
Yeah. To the left side. See
there we go. There we go. Yep.
Yeah. So you go, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, what was it you were just talking about there? Frequency,
exactly.
Energy, and vibration.
Right there, right in that patent, they are working with energy and manipulating the frequency, and also they didn't specify it, but resonant frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And Nikola Tesla demonstrated amazing things using resonant frequencies without the requirement of a whole lot of energy to be input either.
What I also, one of my favorite ones is right above that, where it says the Rife machine.
Yep.
Rife Reese.
Yep.
And his machine there, that he could treat cancer non-invasively with great success, and he could actually cure people of their cancer, and they totally trashed him because it's,
and the principles were sound. And that's no pun intended with sound, but that every cell has a specific resonant frequency that it will vibrate at, to the point that if you put enough energy at that right frequency, that cell will blow apart, just like the champagne glass when the opera singer hits the perfect note.
Right.
And so his task was to have documented the specific frequencies of different cancerous cells and find out what frequency literally makes them just self-destruct.
Right.
Very good science.
Extremely good science. Extremely good science. And Everybody's saying, somebody's saying out there, look at the, what's the Schumann, let me check to see what the Schumann resonance is here. Let me check on my laptop over here. Let's see, what's Schumann resonance doing today? There it is. I'll just report it from the laptop over here. Actually, I can do it one better.
Yeah, that frequency rings a bell. NKNWN quantity 500 kilohertz. Yes, rings a bell. That was one of the frequencies that Nikola Tesla found to be a multiple of one of the frequencies of the natural frequencies of the Earth, whereby when he injected that frequency in, he was able to tap into the natural energy source that was in the planet. And thereby he was able to tap into free energy.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this so that everybody can see it. Now, if you're looking at the screen there, this is my laptop, and right now, look at the Schumann resonance right now. Look at that. Can you see it on the screen there, guys?
I see something, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Schumann resonance right now, and it's showing a power level of 36, which is pretty
High.
pretty high, and yeah, it's rocking right now. So yeah, it's power is 36. The power quality is 8.5. We're at 775 maximum hertz, and the minimum hertz was 734, as you can see right down here. So yeah, we've got a very active Schumann resonance right now, as you can tell by the the white area here, which is the A1 band, is the white band there, and let's see, it does explain the A1 band, I think. So anyway, there's your Schumann resonance for today, which is pretty considerable. So
interesting questions coming from out in the chat. What is a quark? To my understanding, Bruthen Creek, it's a subatomic particle. And Mustang Mary brought up a good one. And I don't know why they ever did this. But the conventions of the music industry decided to change the frequency of our instruments, the instruments that we use, for the note A, from 432 hertz to 440. And I don't know why they decided to do that. It makes no sense.
well, 440, it's off. It's not a, it, yeah, it doesn't resonate with us, with the frequencies that are conducive to, our, how do I put this? We just, it's like it's out of tune with us. Okay, the music, if they use the 432 hertz as the tuning mark,
that harmonizes with us somehow, and 440 doesn't.
440 does not.
I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
And interestingly, if you use 440 as the note A, and then if one chooses to make chords using 440, so you're going to have other notes, A, C, and E, for example, you'll be able to make a chord that sounds okay, but the frequency is no longer in harmony with the human. Mm-hmm. And you could make the same chord using A, C, and E, but make it starting with A as the root note at 432, and the music could be just fine. So there was no necessity to change that A from 432 to 440. It was totally unnecessary, but they did it. Why? There's another question that we want answered. We have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's go back to this this Navy scientist article oh wait, that's not the one. This other one. Okay, I'm going to put this back up on screen here.
Ooh, that'd be, while you're getting that, Smokey Randy brought something up. It makes me want to try this, Smokey Randy. I can rig up some sort of a speaker or something and put 432 Hertz into vibrating in water and then compare it to what 440 Hertz does. I'd like to see the difference in the pattern. In fact, maybe I can even look that up.
Well, actually,
I'm trying to look something up right now.
Hang on a second here, because I've played with this stuff a little bit. And let's see, I've actually got an online sound generator. And where did I put that? I can actually show it to you. Okay, this is a 432 Hertz miracle tone.
Okay.
Okay, now that's 432. That little tone, if you could hear that tone in the background,
Yep,
that was 432 Hertz. Now we can go to 440. Let's just go to a sine wave here. 10 hours of a 440 Hertz sine wave.
okay.
Now that is, I mean, it's not that far off, right?
That sounds kind of stressy to me.
But can you imagine listening to that for 10 hours? It'd drive me nuts.
No, that builds stress. I felt it right away.
Yeah, the other one was softer. Now, when I was playing that other one, the cat was sitting here just cruising along. When I kick this up, 2 seconds and he's out of here. The cat doesn't like it either.
We got a video right here. Smokey Randy just popped it over for us. I could put it up if you'd like.
Here, I can. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Hang on a second here. Let me. Come on. I opened it up, but I opened it up in a separate window. Hang on a second here.
All right.
So, I just copy that address. Paste it in. Here we go. All right. Thank you, Smokey Randy. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks very much.
And this is 432 versus 440. Let's play with this for a second.
432.
This guy does a great job on this video.
Yeah.
Okay, so he tuned up each one of those.
Now notice the scale. He's on the positive side of the scale rather than the negative side of the scale at 432. All right.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's very interesting. So yeah, we are, when you start dealing with the sounds that we have and our music and an underlying tone that's maybe embedded into a television program or a movie, or just like our music. What has been one of the biggest things since, okay, let's say the 1950s? We started having rock and roll, and the young people were listening. We had radios everywhere. We had them in our car. We started being able to have little transistor radios that we could carry around with us, listening to music. And music exploded on the scene, rock and roll and everything. But since the 1950s, it's all been tuned to a 440 hertz pitch, and going from there. I find it rather interesting because it just takes you. It sets you just ever so slightly on edge.
Mm-hmm. I could feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I put a question out there in the chat and it was basically spawned by something Satcom said, which was that same parallels apply with light, which also have various characteristic frequencies. And I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but we have a whole new generation of lighting out there, and it's LED light. And I don't know who's deciding, but there's a whole lot of very, very harsh white, bluish light that is coming out of LEDs, and they're putting them up all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
In the past we had sodium vapor lamps, which were an orange color. We had we had the mercury lamps, which were a little bit bluish. But there's nothing to me that seems to be more annoying than these extremely white, bluish white LED lights that are going up in a parking lot near you all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I find that I don't feel relaxed in that light at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I'm noticing it, and I don't feel very comfortable in it.
When the LED lights first came out, I said, wow, these things are fantastic. Well, at first they were terrible. They have perfected them now, but there is something something about LED lights. Now, granted, fluorescent lights, the flicker rate on fluorescent lights is sucks for a lot of people, gives them headaches. And all of our office spaces. I mean, go to any office space and you're going to find, fluorescent tube lights, and those things are about as bad for you as anything else. Incandescent lights, interestingly enough, are they're other than the fact that they generate heat. As far as efficiency, they're not nearly as efficient as an LED light, but the light that you actually derive from them, incandescent bulbs, is actually not bad for you.
So here, this is what I don't understand. If for anybody who's not familiar, and I'm not some big scientist or something, but they refer to the shade of the light as color temperature, and they refer to it in relating that color temperature to a heat index, which is the Kelvin heat index.
Yes.
And by the Kelvin heat index, you will see the letter K after the color temperature of a lamp. The average incandescent lamp is at about 2,700 to 3,000 K, and that's warm white. That's a warm white. Yes, Arlene 121717. That's a warm white. Now, when you get up to 4,000 K, they are calling that daylight. They're calling that daylight.
Mm-hmm.
When you get up to 5,000 K, that light is downright disturbing to me. It's bluish white and it's extremely harsh. That's about 5,000 K. Okay. And yeah, cue it up. You can teach me. I don't know everything. So 6,500 K might be kind of like sunlight. Well, I don't know, but I'll take your word for it. Well, my question is, why do they design so many of these lights to be of the high, very, very white, very harsh, very bluish kind of a light? And it's much harsher than sunlight. Even though you guys are saying sunlight is 5,200 K, sunlight doesn't freak me out when I'm, in the light trying to read a page on a book. If I'm under those bluish white LED lights, it gets me like, this is harsh. It's almost like I want to get away from it a little bit. That's my question. Why they have the technology to build softer white, a warmer, more pleasant light. Why are they doing this the way they are? And I want to figure it out.
Well, okay. Now, I can kind of speak to that a little bit.
Efficiency?
Well, here, I'm going to show you an example. Now,
Okay.
most everybody here is aware that, one of my hobby is model railroading, right? And, I've got my model layout down in the basement. And, when I first started model railroading, I just had incandescent lights in the room, whatever lights were there was fine, whatever. But then when you start getting into, you want to take some pictures of it, and you take the pictures and they come out, you know, off color, or, you just don't get it looks like a picture of a model railroad. Let's put it that way. It doesn't,
Okay.
you don't get lighting is so important if you really want to set the scene. I mean, if you want to create a scene, right? Proper shadows, making it look like daylight, sunshine, and what have you. And so I started doing a lot of, not a ton of research on it, but the lighting is very, very important. And so let me put this picture up here. Okay, now that's a picture off of my railroad. All right. And I've got very bright, high-end daylight LEDs that I've installed above the layout to get that kind of lighting. That was taken with a regular camera with no flash.
Okay.
All right. And now a lot of our newer cameras, your phone cameras and things like that, are they do take wonderful pictures, a little more accurate. But again, let's see here. There's another picture. And the whole point is to get that light on there. And
Right.
and if you start going to like a warm, like if you want a nice soft light in the living room where you're going to have friends and family over and be sitting around and conversing and whatever else, you maybe don't want bright sunlight light in the room. So you can but you have to also consider what is that light doing for you? Is it healthy for you? Now they say in the wintertime, when we don't get enough light, just because of the shortness of the days and all that other fun stuff, that having that higher frequency light, the higher heat source light, whatever you want to higher kelvins, whatever.
Yep.
Is actually better for you in the wintertime and not necessary in the summertime.
Oh, okay.
All right. At least that's my understanding. David Moyers. Yeah, that is my toy choo-choo. Yes.
So we're dancing around the subject of frequencies, and there are some that I think from what we've sampled tonight and that what we've talked about, that we immediately know are more comforting, more calming, and others that are put us more into alert mode or maybe a more tense mode. And it's both with sounds and with light. And is this one more little engineered thing that's quietly done that we need to kind of steer in the other direction?
Well,
Because I'm sorry.
no, well, go ahead.
Well, we do have the freedom to go out and get lighting that is of a more mellow tone, a warmer, yellower even tone. It might not be perfect for photography, but it's more relaxing. And
Yes.
we can do and somebody brought up a point. I forgot who it was. I'm sorry. But yes, Donald Trump had made a move to bring back incandescent lighting. And of course, we
Yes.
don't know what'll happen with that now, but I think
Well,
that was a good idea.
no, they've actually started producing incandescent light bulbs again.
Good.
And here's the thing, okay, let's go back to this what I've got on the screen now and talk about energy. Okay, because wasn't the way they sold us all of this
Energy efficiency.
energy efficiency?
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm all for efficiency and everything else, but if it's efficiency that's not good for you and might even be detrimental to your health, then I'll give up a little efficiency for a little bit of health. Okay. So if we are able to move forward on a patent like what they're describing in this article here, a primary patent examiner at the United States Patent and Trademark Office thought so too. But then the chief technical officer, the CTO of the Naval Aviation Enterprise, personally wrote a letter addressed to the examiner claiming that the U.S. needs the patent as the Chinese are already investing significantly, thanks to the Clintons, I'm sure, in these aerospace technologies that sound eerily similar to the UFOs reported by Navy pilots in now well-known encounters. This raises the question, are the Chinese developing or even already flying craft leveraging similar advanced technology, and is the Navy now scrambling to catch up? I would say that this article, I think that part of the article I think they're trying. Personally, I think they've had this stuff already developed for years and years. And now is the process of disclosing it to the public. And, how pissed off is the public going to be if they find out that this stuff has actually been fully developed, fully in use, and they're doing incredible stuff with it. And we're just finding out about it now. So you kind of lay it out there. First off, you release a video of what, it's called, the Navy fighter jet chases the pill, or the Tic Tac. I think they called it the Tic Tac. You've seen that video, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And, and it's a HUD video. It's black and white, near IR type of video. Not quite IR, but it's what my impression is it's what they call near IR.
Near infrared.
Yeah, near infrared.
Yes.
And I'm familiar with that type of system. Have used one, and you can go full infrared, but then you can go near IR, and it kind of gives you, a little bit of both. Anyway, so. And you got this Navy jet chasing this little white Tic Tac looking thing all over the skies off the California coast, I think is where that happened. And Stoli, Tesla was reportedly doing all kinds of stuff with his technology and his ideas and stuff. But so now what is happening is if the Chinese have this stuff, it's my contention is that this is what the Clintons have been handing over to the Chinese, while the Chinese have been paying them off handsomely through campaign donations to the Clinton Foundation. Was nothing more than a clearinghouse and a money laundering scheme for the Clintons to have this incredible slush fund. And anybody that's dug into how Bill Clinton was just willy-nilly spending money out of that for whatever. And people were warning him, no big deal, just, keep, because they, in their minds, they were never going to get caught. Right. So anyway, what we're dealing with now is the United States government trying to break this to the American people. Those of us who haven't, who a lot of us are still going to sit out there. You guys have had this for years. Knock it off. And then, but my mom and my dad and, a few other people are going to go, wow, they're working on this stuff. That's going to, I mean, this.
Right.
And then they're going to find out, they're going to read up with somebody like you or I, Indigo, and we're going to go, oh shit, they've had this stuff for years.
Yep. And a lot of years too, like 20, 40, 50 years, some of it.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I told the story just a hyperdrive show or two ago about when I worked up on the North Slope of Alaska. I get up there and I find, up there in this area that we're developing, the oil fields and everything else, you find buildings that were built up there back in the 1950s. They were there already. If they built buildings there in the 1950s, how many years ahead of that were they up there before they got around to building buildings up there?
What kind of buildings were they? Were they Quonset huts? What were they?
No, actually, some of them were steel structured metal siding type of buildings. I mean, for a building that was built in the 1950s, they were pretty.
They held up all those years. They held up.
Yeah. But those some
just
of
one example
back in the 1950s, and I'm talking 1950s. I was up there at 75, 76, 77. So 20 years later.
Still standing in that climate.
Still standing up there. And it was all because they knew that there was oil there.
Yep. Well, we've talked about we've kind of covered three different areas here. We started out talking about the moon, and there are some definite mysteries there, and we'll just it's a good idea for us to keep those mysteries in our minds and not release them. I'm still on this business of how they hide so much from us, and people decide to push us in a direction that affects us. And that's where we talk about these frequencies again and this lighting. This whole thing that you brought, and I know I'm going back maybe 5 minutes earlier, but you said it was for the sake of efficiency. All right. And if we've been sold the idea for LED lamps for the sake of saving energy. But an old style light bulb is a piece of glass with a screw and a tungsten filament in it. It's extremely simple, very, very simple. They can make those things, and they had. I've actually done repair work in past careers in light bulb factories, and I've been on the assembly line where they make light bulbs. They pop those things out like hotcakes. All right. They know just how to blow the glass up to make it be the right shape, stick the filament in, done. Cheap, simple, not particularly toxic waste once one of them burns out. Compare that to any of the more high-tech light bulbs, lighting devices. There are rare earth elements in there. There are semiconductors in there. There is small amounts of toxic waste in the electronics. There's mercury in the
fluorescence.
In the fluorescence. That's right. So, and it's obvious when you look at an old style light bulb and any of these new ones that these have got to be way more costly to make than a simple old light bulb. So, what are we really saving? We're saving on the electricity to run it because we get the same amount of light with about a tenth to a quarter of the electrical energy. But what are we doing with all these waste, all this toxic waste? What are we doing with the rare earth elements, which are among some of the most precious elements and very, very much coveted by the Chinese, as a matter of fact? Rare earth elements, they're hot on that stuff. They buy up mineral rights everywhere where they can get that stuff. So I don't see that we've saved very much in the long run. I really don't.
Well, well, circle back. We're going to circle back around.
We could. We could.
I'll circle back with you on that. As our new press secretary at the White House likes to say. Anyway, the if you look at, yeah, I mean, our dams are under attack. Hydroelectric, our the windmills, they're killing off the predator birds, and it's probably one of the most ill-conceived ways to produce electricity, because at the times when you need that electricity, there's usually no wind. So those windmills, those big expensive windmills that are about as green as the asphalt out in front of my house on the street.
And look at all the machinery in those windmills.
And
there's the turbine, the gears, the motor, it's complicated.
Have you
stuff,
watched them
guys.
explode? I mean, they don't have a very long life, to be quite honest. And when they blow up, they scatter, carbon fiber, which is
Part of the propeller that's on them.
Yeah, well, carbon fiber is as bad for you as asbestos.
It's just crazy. Oh, I'll bet it is.
It is.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I learned that lesson when we I'm going to go back to my Blue Angel days. A lot of our aircraft now have much of the exterior of a lot of these aircraft is carbon fiber. All right. And when number 5 crashed his during the first year of winter training, he bailed out. He was, I've told the story. He was trying to figure out how long it would fly inverted, because there's a little catch tank in there, and when the plane goes inverted, it catches a certain amount of fuel, and provides fuel to the engine until that little catch tank goes dry. But we didn't know how long that catch tank would, how far they could go. So Blue Angel number 5, who was the lead solo, took it upon himself to, he went up to altitude over the desert there in the Imperial Valley, about 110 miles east of San Diego there, rolled it over on its back and drove it until it sputtered. And timed it. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it relit. And in the process of not getting it relit, he ended up having to bail out. Had all kinds of desert out there, just all that desert in in the Imperial Valley in California, and and the airplane whoop bloop 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 floated down and landed on the only set of railroad tracks that runs through the area, which is a daily route for major railroad traffic. And it made the news. It didn't just plop down on a piece of dusty ground. No, it landed right on a freaking railroad track. And we got a little attention from that. But to clean it up, all right. I mean, it just plopped. I mean, it literally just kind of bloop, 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 plopped flat. It didn't, it didn't nose in or anything like that. It just bloop, 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 bloop. And, but the airframe was all busted up and everything. And the first thing they did was they had to go out there with just light oil, and they just spray the whole wreck down with this light oil because of all the busted
fibers from flying off.
All the busted up carbon fiber. Yeah. And so anyway, so we've got how did I get
that's dangerous stuff. We talk about more advanced technology and how it's like the turbine blades on those windmills, carbon fiber, and that when one of those things happens to break, which, I mean, every machine eventually breaks, right? That you're going to have an EPA cleanup site on your hands there to vacuum up all the carbon fiber all over the place.
So the point being is that if you look at the solar power, solar panels, the amount of silver that's necessary, and believe me, silver is not going to be cheap. As we move along here, there's more gold in the world than there is silver, to be quite honest. But silver is an industrial metal where gold is not. Silver is more of an industrial metal than gold is. Anyway.
Yep.
So anyway,
More uses.
when we're talking about resources and things like that, and then you come up with, like what we've got in this article here, this type of technology where you can, generate all kinds of energy in a small package that can be run off of, a cold fusion almost, in a package that will fit in the nose cone of an F-15.
That's just going to be a big change.
That it would be a big change. And so all of this concern over, yes, efficiency is good, but efficiency over safety and or other concerns, one may be much better over the other one. So what we're talking about here in this particular article here is the Navy is working on this stuff, and as we were talking here, he says the Navy's top aircraft test base, which is Pax River, Maryland. Payas has published several articles and presented papers at American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics conferences over the years, describing his work in electromagnetic propulsion, revolutionary room temperature superconductors.
Whoa.
Which now that you and I, we had the conversation just before the show about that.
Right.
And,
right. Fusion power is feasible, and fusion power requires superconductors. And the big obstacle for fusion power has been that in order to get superconductors, they have to be frozen very, very, very cold. But if we can get superconductors that work at room temperature, then we're going to be able to do fusion power, which is very clean, very efficient, and we will never run out of fuel for fusion power.
Mm-hmm.
It's as plentiful as the ocean water.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole new frontier for energy. Mm-hmm. And unless they can figure out how to put a meter on it and charge you for it, then the people that are, running the petroleum dollar oil economy now aren't going to like this. They wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
like this at all.
Absolutely. So, he continues on here, and topics like his PhD dissertation, bubble generation under reduced gravity conditions for both co-flow and cross-flow configurations.
Yep. And I think he's referring to a fusion reaction bubble.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think he's talking about, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, reduced gravity conditions. So let's take, for instance, has anybody seen the Raptor fly? The Raptor can do, I watched, I've seen air shows. I've been to hundreds of air shows. All right. And the first time I saw an F-22 Raptor at an air show out here at Fairchild Air Force Base back in 2008, my jaw literally fell to the floor. I mean, I was standing there like, drooling out of my mouth, because I had never, ever seen an airplane fly and do what that airplane could do. And my first comment was, that's not an airplane. They're using advanced gravitic technology to maneuver that thing around. And the only reason it makes a noise is because they got a really good stereo system in it, and they play the noise. I mean, it was incredible. But what I believe they're doing with a lot of our new aircraft is they are building in to them early generation mass reducing, which is another term for anti-gravity, because it basically reduces the effective mass of the aircraft, which will give you all of your inertia and all of that. If you watch, Stargate SG1 and Stargate Atlantis, they're talking about, well, have you got the inertia dampeners turned up there? You can fly along at breakneck speeds and make a 90-degree turn, and it's as if you made the turn at 15 miles an hour in your neighborhood.
Right.
Rather than become a puddle of goo on the side of the wall, and this bubble generation. Now, remember when we were talking, I was talking about they're using this stuff they could actually use this stuff on our ships.
So is that bubble an anti-gravity bubble? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about here.
Okay.
They're actually creating a bubble around a particular area of the craft.
Yep.
Now,
so you're not subjected to G-forces if there's a big acceleration.
Well, if you can generate that bubble to encompass the whole craft, yes. However, if you in some cases, I think what they're doing is they're able to, like, let's say on a ship or a submarine, if you could envelop a submarine's hull in that bubble, the depth that submarine can achieve,
right,
unlimited.
It won't get crushed.
Exactly. All right.
Great application.
Or if you envelop in just this, it doesn't have to be much. It can be just micrometers, millimeters. That bubble encompassing, even just a light treatment. Let's say on the hull of a ship. Think of the reduced drag on the hull of the ship as it goes through the water, and the increase in efficiency in propelling that ship through the water.
Yep. The water really fights boats going through it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of power.
So if you had this bubble basically generating a hole in the water that the ship, kind of goes through, but the ship isn't fighting the water. The bubble is moving the water. The ship isn't.
Exactly.
It's like the hand of God is separating the water so the boat can go through.
A good statement that might be in the world of physics, might be beyond my comprehension, but Satcom wrote up there. Basically, they're trying to get the craft universally neutral. So in other words, get it out of the fight with physics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So the Navy's patented hybrid underwater aerospace craft, Payas, is named as the inventor on 4 separate patents for which the U.S. Navy is the assignee. A curiously shaped, in quote, high-frequency gravitational wave generator, a room temperature superconductor, an electromagnetic force field generator that could deflect asteroids, and perhaps the strangest of all, a one titled Craft Using an Inertial Mass Reduction Device. While all are pretty outlandish sounding, the latter is the one that the Chief Technical Officer of the Naval Aviation Enterprise personally vouched for in a letter to the USPTO, claiming the Chinese are already developing similar capabilities.
Really?
The patent was first applied for on April 28, 2016, over a decade after the Nimitz carrier strike group encountered strange tic-tac shaped aircraft, and nearly a year after Navy pilots across multiple squadrons flying out of Naval Air Station Oceana and NAS Norfolk experienced a string of bizarre encounters with unidentified aircraft, some of which, like the Tic Tac, seem to possess exotic performance capabilities. The hybrid aerospace underwater craft in Pace's patent, meanwhile, is described as being capable of incredible fast feats of speed and maneuverability, and can fly equally well in air, water, or space without leaving a heat signature. This is possible.
So, Thumper, if you put this together with that letter, the review that man had of the technology, and he said, if you knew what we had, you wouldn't believe it. That was, you know, this is kind of along the same line, and this is not just reading and that wasn't just reading an article. That was a response that your friend got back from someone on the inside. So that's
Somebody
pretty
that's
credible.
around this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that inertia, that, you know, reducing one's level of inertial exposure is one of the biggest obstacles that pilots have to traveling even faster and turning even faster. There's only so much G forces that a human body can withstand without you're passing out or worse. So, wow.
And
They've
here's
got
the
this stuff.
well,
I can just feel it. They've got this stuff.
Oh, I don't doubt it whatsoever. I'm just waiting for the day for somebody to confirm it for us. But they are somewhat confirming by admitting that these patents are here. They are actively working on this. This, he just said, 2016, 4 years ago.
Right.
In the world of technology, what we can do in 4 years? Are you kidding me? We can do we can cover a lot of ground technologically speaking in 4 years.
Want to just throw something in. I've talked offline with Satcom a little bit, and he wrote that gravity doesn't exist like they taught us in school. There's another component called the dielectric. So there is the magnetic and the dielectric, and they've left that out in explaining what the principles of gravity are to us. But if these people know these things and they are using, as Satcom wrote in here, dielectric acceleration, then that would give insight into how they're making this technology work. You know, and I Satcom, got to get to talk with you some more sometime, because you're way ahead of me and I want to learn. Anyway,
we need to get our call-in line working, so some of these guys could actually call in during a show and we could chit chat with them. Yeah.
Well, this is what you started tonight's show off on. Is there really is just a brilliant brain trust of people with a variety of different areas of expertise, and that's so just thanking everybody out there.
What's interesting, on this diagram here, what they're describing here in this, and I remember looking at this diagram before, this forward V, the shaded area,
right
there, is like the leading edge of a wing. Okay, and what they're talking about doing is you've got this airspace in there. It's what you were describing earlier. They've got that airspace in there where they've got gas and a
resonant cavity.
A resonant cavity. Because the other advantage that you get to using this type of technology is one of the things that is just a killer on aircraft is the stress that you put that aircraft through. Going through, high G maneuvers and things like that. I mean, that'll kill an airplane faster than anything. Overstressing the airframe and all of that.
We almost should reread the patent, because it's like I can almost understand this, but not quite. And I'm combining together what Satcom said about the dielectric versus the magnetic with what was some of the actual wording from that patent that we read, which was using you have two resonant chambers and using two frequencies to disrupt the it's what I think it basically is it's using the magnetic and the dielectric to work either with each other or against each other. I got to go look for this patent again. I got to read this again.
I'll read a little bit more on this while you grab that.
Right.
The concept is fairly simple, although the engineering required to make it a reality is anything but. All matter contains energy on the quantum level. By theoretically creating its own incredibly dense and polarized energy field, the hybrid craft is claimed to be able to create a quantum vacuum around itself, which allows it to repel repel any air or water molecules with which it interacts. Thus, the craft can essentially ignore aerodynamic or hydrodynamic forces, or so it is claimed by the patent. Through his patents and publications describing the hybrid aerospace underwater craft, the HAUC, Pace writes that the radical feats of speed and maneuverability of which the craft is supposedly capable can be achieved by coupling high-frequency axial spin or accelerated vibration with high-frequency vibrations of electrically charged systems. In other words, if you can A, create a room temperature superconductor capable of storing an incredibly high amount of energy, and B, get the energy field created by that superconductor moving at incredibly high speeds around or within the craft, you can create a polarized energy vacuum around it, which it allows it to basically ignore the energy of the air or water around it, thereby
Yes.
removing its own inertia and mass from the equation.
Interesting. Now, can I briefly borrow the share? Can I take the share for just a second here?
Have at it, my man.
Okay, so now that was what you read. Now I'm going to read right out of the abstract from the patent that we were talking about, which basically says the same thing, but it's in the official language of a patent. And this was, I'll tell you which one it is afterwards, but a craft using an inertial mass reduction device comprises of an inner resonant cavity wall, an outer resonant cavity, and microwave emitters. The electrically charged outer resonant cavity wall and the electrically insulated inner resonant cavity wall form a resonant cavity. The emitters create high frequency electromagnetic waves throughout the resonant cavity, causing the cavity to vibrate in an accelerated mode and create local polarized vacuum outside the resonant cavity wall. Now, there was a diagram, I'll take this down, but now if you put your diagram back up, you had a wavy line at the front leading edge of the triangle. We saw what looked like a disrupted space. And I think that that's what they're referring to. Yes. See that wavy line? That looks like what they're doing is they're creating that bubble, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, Satcom, if you maybe this makes more sense to you than it does to me, which would be great. I think that this is really something.
Well, see, what they're describing there in what you just read is this is the cavity. That gray area there is the cavity.
Yes.
That they're creating that, and the effect of it basically extends out in this wavy triangle bubble
Exactly.
around. Let's say this is a craft.
Exactly.
This is one of their triangular TR3Bs. All
Yep.
right. And so or
isn't that what we flew here in?
Yes, yeah. Well, I don't talk about it much because
okay. So all right.
Yeah. But no, our tier 3B is somewhat equipped. When I'll tell you what, I've put a special order in for a blue and gold TR3B. It won't say Blue Angels on the side, but it'll be painted blue and gold if I have my way about it.
Colors that you're very partial to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go Navy.
All right. Yep.
So, but now, if you were to let's say one of our newly produced conventionally driven
flying craft was outfitted with one of these.
Well, I'm talking about, let's say, the new Super Hornet has built in a system of being able to reduce the the overall effective mass of the aircraft by building a lighter version of not full on anti-gravity, but let's say you could build in a system that would take, let's
A
say,
little bit of boost.
35% reduction of mass.
Yep.
How would that be? Let's say if I could reduce your mass by 35%, and you would still have the same strength and power. Okay.
And I'd feel like I was walking on the moon.
Yes. Yes. And the stress on your bones and your muscles and everything else. I mean, you could literally, your physical force, you could actually.
I would immediately strap on my snowboard and go hit the half pipe. All right.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, you're just, so let's say that they've built this into some of our newer fighter aircraft or strategic aircraft. All right. The performance increase in those planes would be exponential. All right. Longer life, less stress on the airframe. Your engines, let's say, you
more
take
range, less horsepower required for the same speed.
fuel,
all that stuff.
yeah, everything. It just, and if you were able to create that bubble enough so that the pilot is protected from that from those stresses as well, then now you've got a pilot in an aircraft. If you could wrap that whole aircraft in a bubble, let's say, and reduce the effective mass and inertia,
right?
That whole aircraft.
Then you could make a right angle turn at speed and nobody gets crushed.
Yeah, you're talking even if those kind of speeds, your average pilot with the G suit on, the whole works, can fairly easily deal with 4 to 5, maybe for very short periods of time, up to 6 Gs. After that, it gets you just don't want to go through it a lot, and then the resulting stress on the aircraft itself doing that a lot.
Right.
You're going to overstress that airframe, in short order.
Well, you could build the aircraft for it, but you can't build the pilot to withstand much beyond a certain maximum.
You're going to have to protect the pilot. And that's another reason why, you hear the talk of unmanned aircraft. Okay. They send up these unmanned aircraft, and if they're equipped with these things, they can be darting all over the place. And as fast as you can pilot them, you don't have to worry about a pilot on board and all that. So you can imagine what they could do with unmanned drones and what have you there.
I think they've got this stuff with people in them, though. We've heard so many anecdotal reports of objects in the sky turning at right angles. Completely just zipping off and disappearing out of sight in a heartbeat.
Or just straight line or straight up or whatever. I mean, just boop, they're gone.
Right.
In the most recent publication, PACE describes a hybrid aerospace underwater craft as a roughly cone-shaped vehicle that would appear round from front or rear. The HAUC is conical in configuration with an elliptical cross-section, similar in geometry to a hypersonic glide vehicle, a DART. Interestingly enough, the descriptions of the craft in several of PACE's publications and even the patent for craft using inertial mass reduction device include room for a crew compartment shielded by a Faraday cage. Shortly after the patent for the hybrid craft was approved in 2018, PACE presented another related paper, room temperature superconducting system for use on a hybrid aerospace undersea craft. At the 2019 American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics Science Tech Forum in San Diego this past January, in the paper, Payas writes that, in quote, the achievement of room temperature superconductivity, RTSC, represents a highly disruptive technology capable of a total paradigm change in science and technology. That's what you were saying earlier, and has been
Right.
a large part of our conversation. And adds that its military and commercial value is considerable. I would say much more than considerable. It opens up a whole new freaking world, man. The capabilities described in the paper should certainly sound familiar to anyone who's been following Navy UFO stories over the last several years. It is possible to envision hybrids aerospace undersea craft, HAUC, which can function as a submersible craft capable of extreme underwater speeds, lack of water skin friction, and enhanced aerial underwater stealth capabilities, non-linear scattering of RF and sonar signals. What are we talking about? Stealth.
Right.
This hybrid craft would move with great ease through the air, space, water mediums by being enclosed in a vacuum plasma bubble sheath due to the coupled effects of EM field-induced air-water particles, repulsion, and vacuum energy polarization. Here again, we have that diagram. And so this is a cross section of it, I think, is what he's talking about here. Whereas this is I think this is an overhead.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Satcom was giving us another clue. He said the important concept to grasp is magnetic hysteresis. Hysteresis. And I have a definition of magnetic hysteresis, which is what occurs when an external magnetic field is applied to a magnet, such as iron, or to a ferromagnet, something that can be magnetized. And then the magnetic dipoles align themselves. And then when the field is removed, part of the alignment is retained in whatever it was, the ferrous magnetic object.
Mm-hmm.
The material is said to become magnetized. So this has a lot to do with magnetics by the sounds of it.
See, and what the HUAC with components. Images of the craft in the patent application include descriptions of the various components of such craft could possess, such as microwave emitters, and these 300. Okay, here's 300. These little white boxes. These are the microwave emitters, and they're out here.
Yep.
All right. And then you have a resonant
55
cavity
and
filled with,
56.
I'm sorry?
55 and 56. I'm with you.
Yeah. And so we have a resonant cavity filled with a noble gas such as xenon. And that's 150. So, 150, they're pointing to it here, which is this grayed out shady area, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's essentially a double-walled cavity by the looks of it.
And then a crew compartment, which is number 55, which is this right here. This is the crew compartment. A Faraday cage type, a Faraday type cage to protect crew against electromagnetic fields. 58 is a cargo bay. So there, 58 would be this is the cargo bay here. 57, a power plant system. 57 is down here. So look at the power plant in comparison to. I don't know, and I don't know if this is
small,
all to scale,
right? Fusion power.
If you scale it, I mean, that's a what is probably used to be one of the biggest components of anything, and that was the power plant, right?
Right. Engine room, power plant.
Yeah. And then a frustrum or nose cone, which is rotatable about its own axis, 25. So 25 here, and that. So
did you say that was the thrust dome? Is that what you said?
Frustrum, FRUSTUM.
Oh, frustrum.
Yeah,
okay.
A frustrum. That's what it says here. Okay, so it goes on. It says, to help me understand the underlying theory behind the hybrid craft technology described in the patents, I spoke with Dr. Brian Collette, a Hamilton College physics chair who teaches courses in the electromagnetic theory and quantum physics. Collett told me that while patents and peer-reviewed articles about the theoretical physics are one thing, the descriptions of the HAUC and the claims of Pais's research bear no more resemblance to quantum physics, as I understand it, than does the Force from Star Wars. Moreover, Collett adds, a working room temperature superconductor would have far more radical uses that are actually within the bounds of possibility than a hybrid craft that can theoretically create a quantum vacuum around itself. Other physicists I've conferred with have stated the same thing, although most of them refuse to go anywhere near on the record concerning the hybrid craft patent based on how outlandish it seems. Why then would the Naval Aviation Enterprise, CTO, personally vouch for this patent to the USPTO? The future state of the possible. So, it gets into a whole lot of other stuff here. But I mean, this is just a fascinating article. And,
well, the chair of the physics department can give the standard answer, but that doesn't just completely wipe away what we're looking at.
Yeah. I'll give you guys the link to this one here out there in the chat, because they really dive down into this thing. And I think that there's a lot of people out there who are, what are we finding? We're finding that a lot of our educational institutions are basically paid to teach the status quo, right?
Absolutely. I'm reading the chat. There are definitely people who understand the physics of this beyond my comprehension. I know Satcom gave us one clue, which is one of the keys is to understand magnetic hysteresis, but also the dielectric plays into that as well. And I've got more to learn here.
So
now, is Satcom, are you referring to disinfo from the chair of the physics department? He'll answer. Just give him a second. We're on 15-second slow mode.
Yeah. Well, I actually think that there are people out there in the academics. He says, "Yep." Yeah, right. There are people out there in the academic community that are paid to keep teaching the same old bullshit status quo. That's why, that's another way they've been able to program us, But then they put out, they have the other group putting out, TV shows like, Stargate Atlantis, Star Trek, all these things that are, they're putting all that stuff out there, but telling you, no, that is so far out in the future. That's just ridiculous, and then logically, I go, wait a minute. We're still driving around in vehicles powered by a combustion engine that's really technically no different than the original design.
So primitive.
Yeah. Over 100 years later, we haven't come up with anything that can produce a much more efficient way for us to motivate around our little blue ball here, for crying out loud. It is. Yeah.
Now, this is the page that Satcom just pointed us toward, and I'm not going to be able to explain this. But what we do have here is we have lines of magnetic force, and then they are perpendicular to lines of the dielectric. And I've been working on trying to understand this, Satcom, and I haven't graduated yet. Let's just say that.
Interesting.
But I'm going to read this.
Yeah. Now, when he's talking about the dielectric, now I know what I think of when I hear the word dielectric.
insulator.
And okay, insulator. Okay, so that's number of lines of dielectric force. Okay. So are we saying it's creating its own insulating force? Is
I
that
don't
what
know,
is
but
that the term?
I've got to understand this. I've
Okay.
got to learn this.
I'm gonna run fill up my coffee cup and be right back, but I'll be listening.
All right, so I will read some of this. And what one should note when one is seeing this diagram is they're seeing the magnetic field lines versus the dielectric field lines. That's what one is seeing here. And now I'm going to read it. An electrostatic, or as more properly called, a dielectric field issues from the conductors. That is, a dielectric flux passes between the conductors, and that is what we see going from this point to this point. Okay, dielectric lines. And as they move away from that central point, they curve a little bit. Now, these other lines, the ones that I'm trying to outline with the mouse pointer, are the magnetic field lines. And note that they are always perpendicular. At any point, wherever you look at these, they are perpendicular to the lines of the dielectric. This dotted line being a dielectric line, and you take a look at that given point, it's perpendicular. Take a look at another point over here, and it's perpendicular. Now, what does this all mean? Without getting too technical and losing everybody in the physics of it, there is an intimate relationship between the dielectric and the magnetic flux lines. So let me just read this rather than misquote it. It's measured by the number of lines of dielectric force. With a single conductor, the lines of the dielectric force are radial straight lines, as shown in dotted lines in figure 8, which is what we were just talking about. By the return conductor, they are crowded together between the conductors and form arcs of circles passing from the conductor to the return conductor. So there they are going, this is one conductor and that's the other one. Okay. The magnetic and the dielectric field of the conductors both are included in the term the electric field. So what we're getting out of this particular article is that you aren't going to have an electric field without both the dielectric, being the dotted lines, and the magnetic field both being present. That's what we're getting out of this so far. And I'll go back to the chat in a minute just to see if I'm misreading this or misquoting it. The magnetic field or magnetic flux of the circuit is proportional to the current, okay, with a proportionality factor L, et cetera, and I'm not going to get into that because I'm not really great with math. The magnetic field represents stored energy. To produce it, power must therefore be supplied to the circuit. Okay, so this is the diagram. Now, if I look further, let's see what's on the next page. I don't know what I'm going to find. Now, I'm very interested in this, but it's also very, very unfamiliar to me. I'm not a math guy, really. So this, for me, I just kind of need to, I need to just skip all over this because I honestly don't understand it. Okay. To produce the magnetic field of the current, a voltage must be consumed in the circuit, with which the circuit gives the power, which supplies the stored energy of the magnetic field. The voltage is the inductance voltage. All right, so I wonder if this gets to any conclusions here. Let me go to another page.
And in order to achieve this, that it takes a fair amount of energy.
Yep.
All right, and you need something that can produce that energy. Now we could do it with conventional means, but our ability to do it conventionally, as we know in our current world, takes some type of fuel. And short of a nuclear reactor, it's very hard to achieve that in a small space. However, a nuclear reactor is inherently dirty ecologically, and hazardous to human health.
And
Whereas
the-
the technology of this generator that we were talking about earlier is able to produce incredible amounts of energy.
in the form of electricity.
Yes.
Electricity is the key here, if
Mhm.
I'm not mistaken.
It's an electric universe.
Now, this little point 10 is for me somewhat summarial, which is that all the lines of magnetic force are closed upon themselves, and all the lines of the dielectric force terminate at the conductors. So it's a complete system,
Hmm.
and it requires both. You can't have an electric field without both the magnetic and the dielectric force being present.
Think of the magnetosphere of the Earth.
Yeah, yeah, that closes in on itself. That
Mhm.
returns to itself.
Hmm.
Okay, well, this is amazing stuff. I've been through this a couple of times and I have not fully made sense of it, but it's really good stuff. I'm going back to the chat to see if I got any more input from anybody out there.
D. Landry brings up another interesting point. Have you ever heard of anybody talking about grounding yourself if you're grounded? The term being grounded tends to, when we talk about it in modern times, oh, that guy's really grounded, meaning that you're operating efficiently, mentally. You're working uh, a primary level, I guess would be. I'm kind of searching for the proper terminology here, but they tell you to go and stand barefoot on ground, and the earth is made to resonate with us. We are made to resonate with it. But if you're sitting there wearing plastic soled shoes, things that keep you from completing a circuit with Mother Earth, maybe you're not so grounded.
True.
All right. And our bodies, obviously work on electrical impulses. Everything living, growing, works on an electric impulse. Again, going back to Tesla, 369.
So did you look back in the chat what Satcom was writing in here? That I'm once again sorry to drag us off back into this topic, but to me it's really perplexing and very interesting. Satcom wrote, what Einstein did was he got rid of the dielectric lines and said only the endpoints exist, also known as the electron. But as Steinmetz points out, there is no energy in the electron, but in the dielectric line of force.
Mm-hmm.
The energy is in the space between the two endpoints, not in the endpoints themselves. That, I believe, was an important point.
Mm-hmm.
The energy is in the space between the two endpoints. So if we somehow can relate that to the diagram of this invention, there is a resonant chamber, is there not? There was a cavity there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the energy is charging, maybe that's the wrong term for it, but charging this cavity, producing the effect.
Correct. To my understanding, that's
Right.
And NKN WN quantity says Stokes and Gauss's law. I can't remember Gauss's law. Boy, I know I've read that sometime in my past.
Gauss,
Yeah.
Stokes and Gauss's law.
Yeah. So when Gauss's law is like when you're degaussing something, you're removing a static energy when you're degaussing something. It's the same thing as you can use a degausser to erase information on a magnetic disc, magnetic tape. You know, when if you wanted to, back in the old reel-to-reel tape recorder days, if you could use a degaussing device and just pass it over a big 12-inch reel-to-reel tape, magnetic tape,
erase it,
and erase the whole dang thing.
Right. And so the presence of Gauss is the presence, it's a representation of the number of atomic alignments that there are,
Mm-hmm.
the atoms that are all in alignment. So degaussing is taking them all out of alignment,
Mm-hmm.
therefore reducing the magnetism that they have.
It basically it erases the patterns.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Boy, I wish I understood this as well as some of these guys out there do. But we can keep working on it. We can do that.
Stoliak says, do you know about Wim Hof on mastering your breath, body, and mind? No, that's not something I've looked at. So
Nor I.
I'm starting to wonder if he's pulling my leg here or not.
But people have shot us some good links. They also shot a link to us, which I don't think we were going to get to, but it was about how certain frequencies. It was actually a YouTube video. I got it here someplace, which it's this one, and this is just, I don't think we'll play this, but I can put it up just as food for thought if I find the thing to share the screen again here, which is right here. Hold on. Coming right up. This was from a TEDx talk. And so, yeah, I didn't know if we'd get to it, but I want you to see the title of it. So this is from TEDx, and the title of it is, wait till you see it. Wait for it. This was from a TEDx talk. And so, yeah, I didn't know if I hear myself, but I want you to see the title of it. So this is from TEDx, and the title of it myself. Wait till you see it. Wait for it. This was from a TEDx talk. Sorry about that. That was this right here. Nope, that's not it.
That's the Tic Tac video.
Right. This is the one.
By show of hands, which I can't really see, how many out there have seen Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home? Okay. Well, I'm sure you recall that the crew time travels back to 1986 San Francisco, and in this scene here, Dr. McCoy has to rescue Chekhov from...
I wasn't intending to play it, but this is using sound waves to destroy cancer.
Yeah, keep going, keep going.
Interesting stuff, isn't it? Okay, we'll run it.
From the barbaric medicine of the 20th century. Well, I'm here today to talk to you about another person that's wrestling with and struggling with current modern day medicine. Sue is a seamstress in Barcelona. She lives outside of the city and takes the train to work. She's married to her high school sweetheart, and they have 3 children. Recently, Sue has been having abdominal pains, bouts of nausea and vomiting, and so she went to her doctor. He ran a battery of tests, did an MRI, and she got that dreaded phone call. The diagnosis was cancer, liver cancer. And so she met with her oncologist and a surgeon, and they reviewed her case. More bad news. The tumor was too large to be surgically resected, which meant she had heard the chances of long-term survival were greatly diminished. Also, the tumor was located in a place that made it difficult for this type of therapy, where large gauge needles are poked through the abdomen to the tumor, and the heat then kills the tumor. It was too close to a vein. So her doctor recommended chemotherapy. Now, Sue knew that chemotherapy would likely not cure her, but it most certainly would make her feel miserable for months to come. I'd now like to take you to the future, where Sue has the potential to be offered a therapy that uses sound energy rather than heat or incision or chemo to cure her. And so talking about then ultrasound. Ultrasound has been used for many years for imaging, but researchers have been trying ways to use ultrasound to create heat to destroy tissues non-invasively. Well, Charles Kane from the University of Michigan was taking a different path. He wanted to use the sound energy to create mechanical forces, not heat, to destroy tissue. He and his colleagues at the University of Michigan actually found that the mechanical forces of heat could have great benefit as compared to heat, or the mechanical forces, of sound, that could use to have great benefit. Those mechanical forces could actually be a lot more precise, and they have the potential for more rapid healing, quicker recovery, and less pain. So Charles and his colleagues, together with the university's technology transfer office, licensed that technology to a newly formed company called Histosonics. Histosonics got to work developing a medical device that would be able to deliver histotripsy. This, when electricity is applied to it, vibrates. And those vibrations then create an ultrasonic wave that can propagate through tissue. Now, by arranging an array of these elements in a concave formation, the transducer then becomes capable of transmitting ultrasonic waves that then increase sharply in strength at the focus.
Great illustration. See how there was one target particle that they were vibrating, because they've actually got a group of senders here, and by constructive interference, they all focus where that energy all coincides. So thereby, they're not putting a whole lot of energy into the surrounding cells, but there's that one little target, which is probably the target of the tumor or the cancer cell.
Okay. Before you start this thing, watching them roll out this kind of stuff, from my knowledge of the Royal Rife machine,
Exactly,
pisses me off.
My sentiments 100%. He was 70 years ahead of them.
And his system would guarantee the destruction of the cell. All he had to do was they could go in and they really didn't, as long as they knew the type of cancer, he had already determined what frequency was necessary in order to kill any particular cancer cell.
Exactly.
He called it the morbid oscillation resonance, MOR. And
yes, that's right.
And he had developed the microscope. He had developed the emitter, and he actually, his process, he could actually, through his microscope and his emitter, put these cells in there and watch real time. Back in what year was that he was doing this stuff? Back in the
1940 something.
That's what I want to say is the 1940s. All right. And so now these knuckleheads, and excuse me, they cannot be absolutely deft of the knowledge of what Royal Rife Reese did. All right. And the guy was way ahead of his time. But no, what we have now is we kind of can, but and it's like, no, this guy was able to do it conclusively from everything I've been able to read about it. And they hated the idea because, it's all still, you see them as they talk about it, they're still counting the dollars instead of the people saved.
Now, the big thing with this is similar but different. They're using those audio frequencies, but what Royal Raymond Rife's system was able to do is by tuning the device to that morbid oscillation resonant frequency, the MOR, as you just said, it would seek out the cells that were the malfunctioning, the malignant cells, and those would be selectively destroyed in a larger area. So this one requires precise focusing, and his system was able to basically scan through the whole body, and wherever there were those types of cells that it were at that morbidity tuned frequency, it would just obliterate them.
Mhm.
So this isn't even as good as what he came up with.
No, absolutely not.
Oh geez, we'll skip the cartoon.
So I, when I watch this kind of stuff, I get mad because they're still counting dollars instead of lives saved, which yeah,
Yep.
enough to make you run
We-
out, and hit a
we-
wall.
We got about 12 minutes left. How can we tie everything together to make it somehow coherent? There's a whole lot about vibrations and frequencies, right? There's a
Mhm.
whole lot there. It's like the magic of the universe. Nikola Tesla, the numbers 3, 6, and 9. He was onto things.
Mhm.
He's another guy,
Mhm.
way ahead
Well,
of his time.
I've got this. It actually it just came out today, and it's an announcement, but it's more than just an announcement. Dr. Michael Sala, who has been a guest on Hyperdrive, and hasn't been back for over a year. I did send an email out to ask Dr. Sala would be interested in coming on at his convenience and being a guest here.
That would be fantastic.
But
That'd be great.
he's going to be having a conference later this month. The Earth Alliance, full disclosure, and the coming global revolution. As the predicted days of darkness temporarily settle upon the U.S. and the world stage, a great effort is taking place behind the scenes over the future direction of humanity, as many white hat groups and leaders are stealthily overturning deep state operations. Among such groups is the Earth Alliance, a loose association of military and political white hats from major countries who have been battling the deep state over the extent and pace of releasing advanced technologies used in secret space programs to ultimately reveal the truth about extraterrestrial life. Very recently, the White Hats gained a decisive advantage due to the widespread public exposure of deep state plans to socially engineer a great reset through systemic election interference, a staged pandemic, social media censorship, and worldwide suppression of civil liberties. The failure of the deep state's plans will have major consequences for the repressive political systems of client countries such as China, Iran, North Korea, that were infiltrated decades ago by the deep state and manipulated. Key political leaders in the Earth Alliance include President Donald Trump, who has begun the process of releasing advanced aerospace technologies through the creation of the U.S. Space Force, Russia's Vladimir Putin, who has allowed many breakthrough technologies to be released and thoroughly frustrated deep state plans to incite another world war. Xi Jinping, who has battled the nefarious influence of his predecessor, Jiang Zemin, who still controls many advanced technology projects used to suppress the Chinese populace. Finally, India's Narendra Modi has tirelessly worked to bring out into the public arena the anti-gravity technologies used in ancient India's space program.
Whoa. Ancient India's space program?
Yeah, well, we're talking about the Vimanas, right?
Whoa. And another thing, how is Jiang Zemin still able to exert control or clout? Isn't Xi the leader?
But they're still the communist Chinese are still
party.
The Communist Party is
Right.
pretty much still in this guy's hands, right?
Yep.
So and that's supposedly what Xi Jinping has been working at, getting finding those people within his country, much like President Trump is identifying and marking those in our country. Okay.
So Yeah, yeah. I guess I can wrap my head around that.
Okay. So,
Before you go on, in that
mhm,
paragraph, that other part that just blew me right off my chair, which is anti-gravity technologies used in ancient India's space program. Now, I
mhm,
want to bring up something unrelated. Let's take us over to Egypt. Exactly how in the world do you build these megalithic pyramids with even today's engineering and civil engineering technology, let alone whatever they had there with sticks and ropes
mhm,
way back then? Just
mhm,
how did you do it? Maybe there really were anti-gravity technologies,
mhm,
guys. Maybe there really were.
mhm.
We can't even figure out how to build those pyramids today. And there they are.
There they
You
are.
can go touch it. You can go climb it if you want,
Mhm.
if they don't, arrest you for trespassing.
So it's pretty interesting. Okay. These
Wow.
key leaders, along with many others, have been covertly cooperating to bring about the demise of the deep state, both in their respective countries and across the globe. They are being helped by a positive group of extraterrestrials called the Galactic Federation, aka Confederation of Planets, which has been working for decades to raise human consciousness. The Galactic Federation also has been stalwartly uh, working with key players such as the Trump family for generations to promote and ensure the optimal timeline and to bring about a great awakening and a global revolution that will result in humanity's emergence as a full member of the galactic community. The presenter is Dr. Michael Salla, is the author of the best-selling Secret Space Program book series and founder of Exopolitics. The webinar is February 27th, 2020. It's on a Saturday, and you can sign up for it. I guess it's $55, and you'll be able to, connect in via the internet, and you can register. So I'll put a link to this, but
It's
again,
2020, though. Is he doing another one this year?
uh,
We should check with him.
I think there's another one.
It's probably an
The
annual thing.
Yeah, well, the header for this. Hang on a second here. Yeah, it doesn't say
2021.
2020 there.
Oh, then
But
that's a typo down below. That
it
should have
must
said
be.
2021.
Yeah, it must be a typo,
Yep.
because if you take all the, okay, we're going to take the reader off of this, and because this was written by admin on February 3rd, 2021, in announcements disclosure featured. And you see here's the thing, and it says February 27th, 2021.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And over here, that's Dr. Michael Salla. And yeah, I would definitely like, so I did reach out to him in an email today, and I hope to hear back from him and have him come on, because I would like to get him here in the next week or two. And we'll do a little promotion for his upcoming webinar and get his thoughts on a lot of this stuff. Actually, what I'd love to do, though,
That'd be great.
yeah, is put this image up and say, okay, doctor, let's start at the top left-hand corner. What do you got on this? How about over here? Yeah, he'll probably have to go surfing for a week. He lives in Hawaii, by the way. He'll probably have to go for surfing for a week if we did that to him. But anyway, so, well, sir, we have 4 minutes left to the show tonight.
Wow.
I really, really enjoyed tonight's show. I hope our audience out there, you folks who stuck around with us, all almost 1,500 of you still sticking around out there.
See a lot of familiar names out there.
Absolutely.
People we know. D. Landry, how you doing? We've had a little bit of a break on our weather for a change. That's good. And Light Switch, couldn't do it without you. Stoli, I'd like to get to know you some more. And everybody else, what a crew.
They're awesome, aren't they?
Yep.
And
for sure.
like I said, the stuff that we present here, a lot of it comes from you guys. And I can't thank you enough for the support that you have for this channel, for this show, and everything. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. With that said, I understand there is a semi truck bearing down on us again tonight. And so we'd better get our little butts moving, get out of the way, or, we'll get an air horn. Indigo, thank you so much, my friend. Great evening, great subjects. And I want to say thank you.
Yeah. Back at you. Thank you.
All right.
You're the boss.
Oh, I'm just here just like everybody else. And it's an honor to be here. And it's a blessing. And we're gonna keep having fun every chance we get. So here we go, guys. If you would please take your seats. Please make sure your seat backs are in the upright position and your table is stowed appropriately. All loose gear, please make sure it's secured as we make our way back to our point of origin. If you would, make sure when we get back there, we will be deplaning, and please take all of your gear with you. I understand that the semi does have a large cargo space at which we will unload anything left behind and leave it up to Rooster to leave it wherever he wants it. Thank you for joining us tonight. 3, 2, 1, we're headed home. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived back at our point of origin. And if you would please, the cabin doors are open. Make your way out of the aircraft carefully, and we'll see you on Saturday for a little early edition hyperdrive. Good night, everyone. God bless.
Hey, Thumper!
How's it going, my man?
Pretty good. How you like my new profile